Powerlifters understand one principle that many weightlifters don't, and that's how to use the bar bend to your advantage. And you don't need to be lifting crazy weights to take advantage of the 3 tips that I'm going to give you to see an immediate improvement in your snatch and clean and jerk. Now, there's 4 things that you need to know about bars before we get into tip number 1. 1, some bars have more bend than others. 2, every bar has bend even with minimal weight. 3, you can use this bend to your advantage. And 4, if you don't know how to use the bend will use you. Tip number 1 is to pull the slack. If you were to load a barbell with 1,000 pounds and try to pull it, you would see the bar bend and the plates not move. If you want to take advantage of this bend in the pull for the snatch and clean, then you need to separate this movement into 2 pieces, pulling the bar and pulling the weights. Think of it like pushing a car. Pulling the bar and plates at the same time would be like trying to run full force into a car that stopped in order to try and push it. Instead, you want to slowly get the movement going, build a little bit of momentum, then pick up speed. It works the exact same way for the snatch and clean. In fact, it actually mimics the natural tempo of a max effort lift. The bar will start slow from the ground to about the knee position, then get faster from the knee to the hip, and the fastest portion of the lift will be from the hip to the bottom of the catch. But if you start the pull too fast, you run the risk of losing your positions and not be able to accelerate or continue to get faster. One helpful way that you can think about pulling the slack in the snatch and clean is to listen for the clink of the bar hitting the inside of the plates. This is done by engaging your lats. Imagine pushing your shoulders down towards your hips as you set your hips before you start the pull. Remember, pull the bar, then pull the plates. Tip number 2 is time your dip. Learning how to time the dip is one of the easiest ways to take advantage of bar bend in the jerk. And it doesn't matter how much weight is on the bar. To visualize how important this is, I'm gonna show you what that looks like on a bamboo bar, which is designed to have more bend and be very unstable. When I dip quickly, the bar and plates bounce around a lot more. But if you initiate the dip slowly and smoothly, the plates only bounce up when I'm going up, which means that the weight is essentially lifting itself. Now, the same concept applies on a normal barbell, but just less exaggerated. On a normal barbell, if I dip too suddenly, the bar will break its contact with my shoulders and then land back on me at the bottom of the dip, making it much harder to change direction as I begin my drive. This is bad because at the point where I'm actively trying to move as fast as possible, the weight is working against me instead of with me. But if I dip smoothly, the bar will bend down with me and up with me, creating that weight lifting itself effect. Now, one thing I want to clarify here. This doesn't mean you should dip slowly. The dip needs to be fast, the drive needs to be faster, but the initiation of the dip needs to be smooth. So don't feel like you need to slow down everything, just slow down how quickly you unlock your knees as you begin the dip. And tip number 3 is learning how to bounce your squats. If you're a weightlifter, you should be using a bounce in your squats for the majority of your squat training. I've made another video on this, which you can find here somewhere, but here's the quick overview. In the clean, we need to ride the bounce of the squat to be able to stand up with ease. This helps make sure that you have enough energy to successfully complete the jerk. But if you don't catch this bounce, you'll have to use a lot of effort to stand up from the squat, which leaves you very little energy to be able to make the jerk later. So when we squat, it's important to practice this bounce so that it's habit or second nature in the clean, not something that you have to actively think about. Along with that, having a big squat doesn't necessarily help your Olympic lifts as much as having a big, fast squat. To practice this bounce, it's all about knowing when to relax your hips while keeping your core tight. The moment you relax your hips, your descent will speed up a lot. So it's important to make sure that you do this at the right time so you don't get folded like a burrito at the bottom. If you relax your hips too soon, you'll start moving down faster, but so will the barbell. And the barbell is hopefully a lot heavier than you are. So when you get to the bottom, the bar is going to want to continue moving down, and it's going to take a lot more effort to change this direction. So you'll most likely have issues with tipping forward or having to reset your balance at the bottom, which just takes a lot of effort. But if you don't relax your hips at all, you'll have a great squat for powerlifting and bodybuilding, but not so much for weightlifting. The key is to relax your hips at the right time, which for most people is somewhere around parallel or slightly above. This allows you and the bar to start speeding up a little bit without actually having to travel as far, which means you get all of the benefits of a bounce squat without the negative aspect of the bar folding you over at the bottom. And a little pro tip to help prevent getting folded over, because it might happen at some point, don't just squat with your legs. Imagine driving your back into the bar as you stand up. This will help keep your upper body and core engaged instead of making it just a leg movement. And when you use all of your muscle instead of some of your muscle, you can lift a lot more. That's everything for this video, but if you want a program to help you start bending bars, then make sure to check out my 3 and 5-day OlyStrong weightlifting program. You'll get access to my training program, daily video feedback, and complete access to my DMs, so you can ask me any questions, even the dumb ones. So if that sounds cool, or at least not terrible, then click the link in the description below for a free week trial.